I felt like I was too gifted, but I lacked mentorship. I lacked the path and the person also to tell me, this who you are, this is how you can do it. Because I could be seen more as a disruptor more than as a leader.
Welcome back to I Have Been Meaning to Ask, and it's such a pleasure to have you today. And it is my joy. On the bench today, I have a phenomenal young man. You wouldn't believe it. This guy has some serious stories, and we're going to hear a lot. Benny,
Yes,
karibu
sir.
sana, man.
Thank you, sir.
It's great to have you here.
Great to have you.
Benny is an orator. You're an author. You're a founder. How old are you?
I turned 21.
21.
Yes.
Amazing. Tell us, what is this you're founding?
I have an organization called the I Speak Society. So the I Speak Society trains young people in communication, networking, and leadership. And we've been 2 years old, just building slowly by slowly. We are 7,000 young people in the country. And I also run the Double B consultancy that does speech writing, speech training, and we also do content creation and strategy.
My goodness.
Yes, sir.
Did you say 21?
Yes.
You know, I was just sitting here wondering, what was I doing when I was 21? Because I would never have responded the way you responded. Yeah, when I was 21. But anyway,
Yes, sir.
let's go back to the beginning.
Yes.
Tell us who Benny is. Where did you start? And how did you even end up where we are at today?
So I was given the name Bennyhinn because I was born when Bennyhinn came to Kenya on 19th December 2001. And so that same time when I was being born, that's the same time he was also coming to Kenya. And apparently, according to the stories I'm told with doctors and my mom, I'm being told it was supposed to be a CS. But then when he came to Kenya, my mom had the faith and my mom kept praying. At the end of the day, the surgery never happened and I came out without any surgery. And so my mom saw it as a miracle. So I was given the name Bennyhinn. And then I grew up partly in Western Bungoma for like my first 8 years in life. And I grew up in the Anglican church, being exposed to church a lot. My grandmother was a pastor. And then I later came now to Nairobi, so the transition was a bit tricky, because now from Bungoma now to Nairobi, the first day in school, it was a private school called St. Scholastica's. And so it was a bit tricky now settling in. I remember being asked, where is your home? And then I used to say Nairobi. And people would laugh. I never understood why they're laughing. And we're in Nairobi. So later on, that's when I realized that when you say Nairobi, it's like you're saying the whole capital city.
Yeah.
And then now I started reading books at an early age. My father started sharing with me Nelson Mandela, Barack Obama, and we could go to the library in class 6, class 7. So sometimes I would prefer reading these other books compared to the course books.
Yeah.
So I would read books by guys like, I will read books by Oprah Winfrey, Taylor Perry. I will do some research. So I knew a lot of information that is not related to school compared to what I know that is related to school. So I used to perform so well in social studies and languages. In maths, sciences, I wasn't that good. And my handwriting wasn't very, very okay. So after 3 weeks, there was music festival and the school was in Mount Elgon. So boys had a mentality that music near Madame. So we agreed as a whole class. But now when the teacher came and asked, who wants to go for music festival? Then he said, Bennyhinn, I want you to go for public speaking. Na akasema ukumbuke bado ile makosa ya cover kitabu na kelele yenye mlipiga sijawachapa. Kwa hivyo ukikataa, tunaenda staff room. So when I saw that, nikamwambia it's okay, so I'll go. But I was prepared maybe to refuse later, tukiwa peke yetu. Then he started calling me for auditions, so I could go in the staff room randomly to do auditions, of which at that time it never made sense, because I'm a noise maker, I'm not a public speaker. And so I got the first opportunity to try public speaking, and by God's grace, I went up to State House. The first time on stage, did sub-counties. I was given a paper written, give a speech of if you become the president of Kenya. And so there was a conviction at that time, and I felt like this is it, this is that. I've given a speech and I feel like actually this thing is in me. And so I went up to State House level. I spoke before President Kibaki.
How old were you then?
At that time I was 12. And so I saw them giving a standing ovation, and I was asked, what can we do for your school? And our school did not have a bus. So I proposed and said our school needs a bus. So when I went back to school, the same teachers who now used to say this is a noise maker now even proposed and said, wacha kwe prefect. So
because of a bus.
Well done. So that is where now leadership began. Then I went to a national school in high school. The second day, I became a prefect.
Second day
yes.
in the national school?
Yes, yes. The third week, I had already been appointed as the Form 1 captain. I had read a lot of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, Rivonia trial, 1964, when he was in court, when he had refused to, go according to what the whites wanted. So I was very revolutionary. So nilikuwa tunatafuta opportunity ya kuexperiment hizi vitu nimekuwa nikiwatch. That is how the journey of 7 schools now began. So by the time I was reaching to Form 2 third term, school principals would call each other. Be careful, that guy is brilliant, but that guy can incite your school.
You must have been trouble for even your mom. I mean, where was your dad in all this?
Now, this is what used to happen. My mom used to pay school fees. Like if I go to the next school, my mom would be like, wacha tu tujikaze. But my mom never attended any case. It's my father now who used to attend the suspension cases. So it was like, because now my mom couldn't take the pressure. It's only one case that my mom attended in Form 2. From the last one, the last suspension I was ever given. And when my mom attended that one, I was asked by the school director, now, what do you think? Because now you were just a prefect previously, we saw potential, and now we can already see things are not going well. Now I told them it will be hard now for me to cope up into the system, because previously I was a prefect, and now I've come back, the tie has been removed, you're going back as a normal student. So I was told that maybe now it will be an issue now, fitting into the system, because now these are the same people I was leading. And my mom showed me a message, alikuwa amefuliza school fees. This now is the last school that we can be able to, pay against school fees, because you can see I've just taken a loan for you to study. And I thought about it, and I told myself, no, let me go back to the system and see whatever will happen. So I made a prayer and told God, now this is a gift you gave me, I don't know what to do with it. And I know I'm not an insider. I know that there's something you want to do with this gift, so show me what I'm supposed to do with it. So in the process, we were coming for half term, then I met Pastor T in an event. He was preaching, and he was preaching about remnants. And he said that there are people sometimes who are too gifted, but if they lack direction, in one or the other, the same gift can kill them. And when he was preaching, I felt a conviction. And yes, I had been raised in church, but I had never given my life to Christ. And so I gave my life to Christ this first time.
When was this? What year?
That was in 2017, August 13th. And when I gave my life to Christ, he looked at me, we were many people, and then he said, what's your name? I said, my name is Bennyhinn. And he gave me his card. And then he said, call me after this event. So I called him, and he told me, we can have a meeting. I'd just like to meet you. I don't know anything about you, but I'm interested. There's just something. So we met for the first time, went for a mission. He doesn't even know me as much. So we went for a mission. He said, I've come here with a young man. He wants to become president. Bennyhinn, come and say something. So that time I was very philosophical, because I had read a lot of books. So I spoke from a philosophical standpoint. Then he said, you've spoken so well after the meeting. Then he said, I would now like you to read the Bible so that you balance your speeches, so that apart from information, you can balance it with scripture and spiritual knowledge. So I started now reading the Bible slowly by slowly. He could walk with me to schools, different places. So now the gift now was balanced with something else, and it had also found purpose. Fast forward, I now got into a journey of mentorship, met PLO Lumumba, got into the foundation as a brand ambassador, and now I said now learning more about leadership and trying to see now how I can use that gift to mobilize people. So when I joined the organization, it had around 2,000 young people, but by the time we were leaving 1 year later, we had mobilized the system. We had now gathered more than 200,000 young people, done events, Pan-Africanism conferences and competitions. And so now at this time now, I was seeing where this gift can be able to bring now value. Then later I went and met Dr. Chris Kirubi, Centum, and I pitched an idea, and he accepted for us to start creating now content on social media, trying to come with mentorship programs in Centum. And now at this time now, the gift was finding value. So I now started learning about packaging. How do you approach great people? What do you say in such meetings and all that? So now building image slowly by slowly.
Oh my goodness, you have such a beautiful story. Now, what was the craziness as you were growing up? What are the crazy things you found yourself doing outside of being able to speak and mobilize? What are some of the things a young man of your age at this generation has had to go through?
Struggled a lot with sexual immorality in high school. At the age of 18, I got a child. So a girl came and told me, Maze, we had just like broken up 3 months before. So ile time yenye nimesema sana nataka kufocus hii story ya madem nataka ni pause. So I've gone to school, done KCSE. So when the term ended, I came back and then she called me and told me, where are you? I told her I'm at home. She said, I want us to meet. So when we met, she told me, I've been missing out on my periods and you're in school, so I never wanted to ambush you. But then I feel and I think I'm pregnant. Then I told her, have you gone for a test? And she told me no. So we went for a test and the test was actually positive. So I asked her, what do you think? Because the girl was an orphan. She told me, I think my uncle might refuse to pay for me school fees. So she told me the only option is abortion. So I told her, that's what you think. And actually came to discover in Kenya there are so many hospitals which are willing to abort.
Are you serious?
Yeah, man. And so that weekend I went with Pastor T for a mission and he preached about the life of Moses. And he said if Moses would have been killed, a whole generation would never have been saved.
Wow.
So I went back home and told the girl, you cannot abort. She told me, why are you changing the decision?
Wait. That was your decision?
Yes. So she said, why have you made the decision? And I explained. And I told her, now if you abort, you are alone in this. But for me, I'm not for it. She said, will you take the responsibility? I told her, yes, we shall try. And so at this time I've just done KCSE. The results are out. I have a C-. And then I wanted to go to Oral Roberts to study oratory.
Wow.
And you're supposed to have a B plane. So I told my dad, I don't think if these grades can take me to where we're supposed to go to. So the only option here is repeating. So when I go to school, I was very, very depressed because I was like, now I've messed up, you failed exams, gone to 7 schools, again now there's a child here. So what happens next? And so it is during that period that I trusted God and I now built intimacy and a relationship with Him. So I went back to school, did my KCSE, I had a B, and I was called to Daystar. Thank you, sir. I was called to Daystar. And after that, now I released this book called Sprout.
Yeah.
The Journey of a Dreamer.
Beautiful book.
Yeah,
oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah, so I felt like now this is something that can be addressed to a generation because I looked at all the experiences, the mistakes, but also the mercy. Yeah. And I felt like, this is a message that I can send to a generation. Because now there is a generation, those people who are not lost completely, let them stay on the track. There are those who are in a place where they're still trying to figure out who they are. And there are those who have also messed up and they feel like they cannot come back. So the book talks about the 5 things you can never choose in life: your parents, background, tribe, skin color, nationality. It is basically a book that addresses the aspect of identity. Because I felt like I was too gifted, but I lacked mentorship. I lacked the path and the person also to tell me, this is who you are, this is how you can do it. Because I could be seen more as a disruptor more than as a leader. And so through that now I've been able to meet people who have walked with me in this path, also to understand what I carry, how I can position it, and even how to package my words. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Well done, well said. Bennyhinn, your story is so amazing. I know now you've been invited to speak to a lot of young people. Many forums you've been invited to speak. Now, when you think about your future, where do you see yourself ending up?
Okay, in terms of public speaking, I can say now I'm building the capacity to become more of a communications expert, because now that's my area of passion. Because when I studied the whole thing about public speaking, there are 5 types of speakers. There's a motivational speaker, there's more of a keynote speaker, there's something called a legislative speaker, there's an orator, then there's an orator extraordinaire. So for me, I'm building capacity to become an orator extraordinaire, that you can be able to raise orators, you can train people in public speaking. So I'm studying the whole communication stuff. I have a vision to build kingdom orators, kingdom leaders, and also kingdom-minded business people. So that's why the vision of I Speak is there. Personal ambitions, I have ambitions to get into politics later on, to run for presidency at a certain point in life. So I'm building the capacity, building the networks, and also praying to God for the wisdom, and also building a relationship with my generation.
Well done.
Yes, sir.
Well done. Oh my goodness. When do you think you'll run?
2042.
2042?
Yes.
Is that clear?
Yeah, it's clear.
Well done. Well done. How old is your daughter now?
She's 2.
She's 2.
Yes.
Tell us about her.
It's interesting. I had now to learn about fatherhood and parenting, so I've been reading a lot of books on that, and also sitting with older people. Children are interesting. She's called Takisha, so we spend most times, talking, having conversations. I pray for her, and I also had to mature faster, because now I saw the child is here, the company is here. So I can say raising her also is interesting. I'm learning things about girls, the aspect of affirmation. The next book I'm writing, it's called The 7 Questions the world will ask you. And it talks about the identity and the aspect of affirmation in fatherhood, because I felt also that's a gap in high schools. And I'm also, as I connect with my daughter, I feel like also as children grow up, girls, boys, there's that aspect of the presence of a father. So you can say it's interesting. It's a very interesting experience.
Fantastic.
Yes, sir.
Man, I can't, it's so amazing just to think that at your tender age, you're already a father. Tell me, the mother of the girl, what's your relationship like with her?
So what I had to do now, I had to build capacity, also to support her in terms of education, because now she's an orphan. So we've been able to build a relationship with her in terms of friendship, so that you can be able to connect. You don't connect with people in marriage because of a crisis, just because something happened. So one of the things I had to do is to learn quickly. So you had to build a relationship of friendship, check up on each other, check up on the child, and also just for purposes of making sure that we connect. So we link up, pray together, and also at the end of the day, we also sit under mentorship. There are people who we have had to look for, people who have raised maybe their children separately, also to give us direction in terms of how do you make sure that the child does not feel like there's a gap, and also how do you make sure that there is also the presence of a parent to affirm the child. So yeah.
Well done.
Yes, sir.
What's the average age of the people you reach out to? The demographic of the people who you reach out to?
Right now I can say from when I check my social media whatever's figures, I can say from the age of 16, 28 there. That's
yes. The demographic. What are the biggest issues you've seen between that in that age bracket?
Okay, there are 3 issues. Number 1 is broken families. That's a crisis in the country currently. You meet so many young men. So in the book we had to do a research, and we came to discover actually there are 3 types of fathers. There is a present father, an absent father, and there is a present absent father. A present father is a father who's present in 3 dimensions: spiritually, physically, and emotionally. That your father can pray for you, can play the priesthood part. Then there is a part of emotionally, that your father can affirm you. There's a guy who made these fluorescent tubes, Thomas Edison. When he was 12 years old, a teacher gave him a letter and said, take this letter to your mom, and we don't want to see you here again. So he took the letter, the mom read and said, the letter has been written, your son is too brilliant for this school is too small for him, don't bring him here again. And so the guy stayed with the mom, started inventing bulbs. At the age of 85, during the anniversary of the mom, he found the letter, and the letter had been written, your son is mentally retarded, we can't keep him here. And he said, I was not a genius, my mom made me a genius. And so there is a big gap of affirmation. Parents pay school fees, but they don't affirm their children. And some of them now, the spiritual side, they have missed it out. Then there is the absent father. These are people who have grown, maybe their fathers died, or maybe they have never had a relationship completely. And even it's there even in the men. You meet a man who is 30 years old, tell you, I never grew with my father just came maybe when I was 22 years old, or he's coming now. And then there are some who have stayed with their fathers, but their fathers are not present in their lives. Maybe the father travels a lot, or he's busy. So it's a crisis. Broken family is the biggest crisis right now in our generation. That's why you can see the LGBTQ conversation is coming up. Yes.
You know, when you think about that age bracket and the things that are going on, and stuff that you hear in the schools and stuff that you hear, especially with that age group.
Yes.
What are you doing to be able to reach to those people and to speak life to them? Because it's not every day that they will have the opportunity for them to be mentored into the direction that they want to go. Schools now are more focused on the curriculum and making sure but as far as that is concerned, what are you doing actively?
Okay.
And is enough being done?
Okay, now I discovered there are so many people who are speaking in this country. I've also attended events where people are speaking, but I came to realize the effect is never felt, and asked myself why. And I came to discover, number 1, this generation is a generation that is results oriented. So before you speak to them, you need to have the capacity. Why are you speaking to us? Who are you? they will always ask that question very subconsciously.
Yeah.
So one of the things I'm doing is to build capacity.
Okay.
When you read the Bible, David, when he showed up before Saul, he said, I've killed the bear, I've killed the lion. The bear is the king of the wood, the lion is the king of the jungle. So he had a track record of dealing with kings. So number one, I came to discover, for me to reach out to my generation, there is something that they will ask themselves, what do you have that we don't have? Therefore, I have to build capacity and muscles. And that's why now I have to sit closer to men like you, Rev Julian Kiula, Pastor Tim Wangi. I have to sit with people who have gone ahead of me so that I can always think ahead. That is number one. Number two, you have to know them. There are three types of sight that you need. There is insight, foresight, and hindsight. So foresight is where you study the future. You look at the future patterns. What will the generation need in the next 50 years? Insight is where you study your generation and what are the current trends. For example, I posted a video on TikTok that hit 1 million views. And all of a sudden, I gained 40,000 followers.
Wow.
And I asked myself, why has this video gone so viral?
Yeah.
And I looked, it's because of the content, also the language that I used. So now that is insight, where you study and you understand what's your generation, demographic, what do they need. And then hindsight is where you study the past patterns so that you understand how to address that bridge. Exactly, where does the bridge connect? So you have to understand the generation. Then number three, what I'm also doing is that I'm now raising people generationally. I'm not thinking individually anymore. Because before, people would rise individually. But right now, we are thinking generationally. So in terms of, if I rise as a speaker, I must rise with a photographer, I rise with a videographer, I rise with a graphics person, I rise with a podcast expert. So you rise like 10 people. So now, that helps you even now to raise a generation in terms of a generational perspective. So you have larger impact. Because when you rise individually, you can't be able to, when you go one at a time, there's a way the devil is going swiftly. So you have to rise with 10 others. So right now, if you're thinking of a company, we're not thinking of a company anymore. We're thinking of an empire. Bring someone who's a fashion designer, impart values in them, so rise with them, then they rise with others. So that's now what you're doing to gain speed.
Well done.
Then the fourth thing now that you're doing is to be able now to understand that concept of kingship and priesthood. Knowing how to balance the secular side and also the Christianity side. Because I feel also that side, the secular side, they need this message.
Absolutely. I want you to stare into that camera right there. And I want you to speak to a parent who has a young teenager. I fall in that bracket. What are the things we should be looking out for? What are the things that we should be doing to or for them at this point? How do we engage with them in such a way that we also win their trust so that anything that they're going through, they're able to share with us?
Okay.
Just look into that camera and speak to a parent.
So there's a guy called Simon Lancaster, and he said in communication there are three types of hormones: oxytocin, cortisol, and dopamine. And these are the three hormones that decide who becomes great, who does not become great. These are the hormones that give people energy. These are the hormones that give people momentum. And now the first thing you can do as a parent when a kid is between the age of 6 to the age of 16, you have an opportunity to give them as much oxytocin, dopamine, and cortisol by making sure that you affirm them, by making sure that you're present, and by making sure that you pray for them. We came to discover that there are 5 types of a father. There's a father who's like a plate. There's a father who maybe has not been present in the life of the son or the daughter. So the kid can be influenced by anything. A plate is open. They can be influenced by social media. They can be influenced by anyone. So that's the first type of a father, like a plate. The second type of a father is like this glass. This is a father who will pay school fees, take their children in the best school, but in real sense, they have not connected with them emotionally. So anyone who connects with the kid emotionally, maybe a boyfriend, your daughter can be carried away. That is why now many girls can mess up. And someone said, when a woman loves you, the best thing she'll give you is herself. When a man loves you, the best thing he'll give you, he'll push you to God and push you to your dreams. That's the second type of a father, emotionally. The third type of a father is like a thermos. This is a father who is extremely overprotective. A thermos has 2 layers. It's good, it can keep tea warm, but remember, when tea stays there for too long, tea will get spoiled. These are parents who are extremely overprotective. They protect the space of their children. Children will lose their identity. They'll never get to know themselves. The fourth type of a father is like that bottle of water. They are transparent. They think they have protected their children, but the heat from the outside can be felt. These are fathers who maybe in one way or the other, they are busy, and in one way or the other, they have never had certain conversations with their children. And any conversation you don't have with their children, there's someone who is having that conversation. So they'll be influenced externally, and they will also be influenced internally. So that means by the time they get to a certain age, they cannot even listen to you. And then there is a fifth type of a father. And these are fathers like these hands. There's a way this father knows that he has weaknesses and he also has strengths. And he knows that the only person who can help him is God. So he brings his weaknesses to God and the strengths. So God helps him do something like this. And also they come and help their children. And so they close in something like this. We cannot hold the water with these hands. It will pour. So this is a type of father who knows that in this world, I'll not be with my child forever. So I can only run to God. So depend on God and keep praying. And also be in touch with your children and make sure that you understand how they think. They are different. Never compare them with siblings. And the last thing I'll tell you, make sure that you speak a language of greatness, not a language of success. Success has time. Greatness does not have time. It takes 8 plus 4, 16 years for you to be successful in this country, or maybe have a master's. Then you'll pass through a certain cycle. But the children of our generation think in terms of greatness. David became great at 16. So give them the language of greatness, not the language of success. These are guys who can be crypto billionaires at the age of 13, 14. They can become crazy content creators. So don't put them in a box. Let them be themselves. And in the words of Bruce Lee, I don't fear a man who has practiced 10,000 kicks. I fear a man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. Let them keep building the kicks.
So well said. Man, I want to get saved. If you did an altar call, I think I'd say I'm ready.
Yes, sir.
Success is time-based.
Yes.
Greatness is not.
Yes.
Wow. I see greatness in you.
Thank you,
That's what I see. My goodness. Bennyhinn.
Yes.
It's been such an honor to meet you.
Thank you, sir.
To have you on the bench.
Thank you.
And I cannot wait to see what God has in store for you. The end is only going to get better than where you're coming from. And let me know as you're running for office. Let's meet at the top.
Yes, sir.
Asante sana.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've been meaning to ask. I mean, this man is power-packed. You can see at 21, he's done so much. Has great visions. He has a great plan for this nation, has a great plan for the kids in this nation. And so much that is locked up inside of him. His passion is unmatched. The things he wants to do, the things he wants to accomplish, the places he's been, the experiences that he's gone through. You know, sometimes we go through stuff and we wonder, is there something good that can come out of this? And for Bennyhinn, you have seen, you and I are witnesses that something great is bound up inside of experiences that we go through. But I tell you, forward this to as many kids as you know, people who are going through trouble, parents who are wondering what can happen with our teenagers, and then start to see a generation begin to change. Bennyhinn, asante sana.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for coming.
Looking forward.
All right, man. And you're looking sharp, man.
Thank
when
you.
I grow up.
Thank you.
Asante.